So let's go ahead and start setting up your paper for the Principles of Art project. You're going to make a brand new file, File New, blank file. We'll call it Principles of Art. And we'll always make sure that our dimensions are in inches. We'll turn the width to 16 inches, the height to 8 inches, and the resolution to 300 pixels per inch. We always make sure that we leave the color mode RGB color and the background contents white. I will click on OK. I want to make sure I can see my ruler on the very top of my page. Mine's already showing, so I'm going to go to View and make sure that the little check mark is on rulers, and then I can see the ruler at the top of my page. I want to start putting in my lines, and I'm going to choose my pencil tool and make sure that I choose a color that I can see on my white piece of paper. So I'm on my color picker, and it's up to you what color you can go with, but remember you have lots of choices in here. I'm going to go with something a little on the darker side so it stands out. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to make sure that my pencil is on my default brush, number 1. I'm going to change the opacity, I'm going to change the size of it to between 15 to 25 pixels. So anywhere in that range is good. Remember, you're going to be making straight lines. I'm going to divide my paper up in half. So I'm going to use my ruler on the top part of my screen. When I click over here in the gray area, not all the way into the ruler, but into the gray area, I can click, hold Shift, and hold my click down and bring my line straight down, and then I get a straight line. I'm going to put one at 8 inches. I'm going to do another one at 4 inches. Another one at 12 inches. And lastly, I want to make a horizontal line halfway through my paper, so I'm going to line up my mouse to the ruler, click, hold Shift, and I'm going to drag my mouse across the page. So I've set up my Principles project evenly with all 8 boxes. It doesn't matter which order you are going to fill each box, so that's going to be up to you. I am going to demonstrate how to start adding text. So right here, this is your text tool. If I click on the T and I just click once, do not make a text box. Like a lot of people like to go like this. That's not going to work as well for this project. So instead, just click once and you type one letter at a time. So I'm going to start off with the letter S. And I just type that with my keyboard. I'll click on my check mark. And I have these boxes right here, so that tells me that I can move it, make it the S larger or smaller. I'm going to stick with a letter that's a little bit big right now because I would like to be able to see it. I'm going to take my zoom tool and I'm going to zoom really close into that box so you can get a good view of it. So I have my move tool on this letter S. There are so many different fonts that you can play with, so you can go back to your T tool, highlight the letter, and right over here, just like in other programs, you can find where the different font is, so that I can go over here, I can put it anywhere I want it to go. I can change it just by leaving my cursor right here, turning that blue, and then using my up and down arrows, I can change the type of font that I see. I'm actually going to go with this big fat letter S right here, and I'll click on the check mark. Right now it's just a plain blue blob, and it actually almost doesn't even look like an S, but I want to kind of jazz it up a little bit. So on the side of my screen, I'm going to go over here where it says Layers, and I'm going to go next to it where it says Effects. I'm going to make sure it's in Styles, and I have a lot of options here. I'm going to go to Complex. Then you can look through all these different effects in here. You can change it to pretty much anything, and you can have time to play with those. But I'm going to keep it simple for now and just go with double clicking on this one. And I'm going to add a bevel on the top of that. Double click. I can also do some other things like adding some drop shadows. I'll go double click on here. Now that letter S looks like it's floating around. Remember, that is a layer, and I'm working on variety as my very first letter or very first box. So I'm going to put the letter S somewhere. Once I'm ready for my next letter, I'm going to use my T tool I'm working in this box, but I actually want to type away from this letter S, otherwise it'll connect to it. So my next letter is going to be the letter N. Because I'm working on variety, I want to make sure that each letter looks different from one another. So I'm going to go back to my T tool. I'm going to highlight this letter N, and I'm going to put my cursor down here in the font, and I can use my up and down arrow to find a font that I think would be good. I really like the way this one looks, so I'll use a little check mark and go back over here to my effects. Again, I can put it to pretty much anything I want it to because I want it to look all jazzed up. So I've got Wow Chrome. I'm going to go to Outer Glows and put some fire around there. And here is where I can put this letter. I'm going to make sure that whichever box you're working in, that you want to keep your letters or design inside that space. And I'm going to fill up that box with my different sorts of letters because I'm working on variety. And I also want to make sure that I have some kind of a background color. White is fine, but I may not want every single box to be white. I can take my paint bucket tool, turn it to whatever color I think would be kind of fun. Click on OK. And I have to go over here to where it says my layers and make sure that I'm on this background layer. And if I click on there, then I should be able to fill this box. Now the problem is it went into the other box, so I'm going to undo that. It looks like up here I did not get my line fully up there. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to turn my color picker into this dropper so I get the exact same color. I'm going to go back to my pencil tool and I want to fill in this, this shape. I'm actually going to go back over here to my background, make sure I'm on the right layer. Because I know I'm on the right color and I filled in my bucket, it's kind of like a bucket that's filled with water and you have a leak in it because you have a hole and so all the water spills out. Well, I just filled my bucket and so now it should work just dandy.